Good morning, students. Welcome back to the social science online class. Okay, in the last class we saw the various aspects like associated with the GDP, that is GDP, GNP, NDP, NNP, like many things. Okay, today the same, and we are going to elaborately to know about GDP and how it calculated. Okay, so this point you see produced in the country. So now GDP it measured only the final value of the output. Okay, so what is a GDP now? So what's inside boundary of our country, what we produce, the final value added. So inside the boundary of our country, keep in your mind, inside the boundary of our country, what we produced, okay, that alone. For example, now the apple produced in Kashmir. Okay, so the apple produced in Kashmir, that will come to our Indian market, that added in the GDP. Another thing, this another what is it, a place like California. So Californian apple will come to the Indian market. Listen, Californian apple will come to the Indian market, that will not add in the GDP because California is not in India. Okay, that is in USA. So only inside the boundary of our country, what we produced, that final value added in the GDP. Okay, so that's the first point. You see the second one, produced during a time period. So what is a time period now? A specific time we calculated. Normally, what is it? We called as a year of time. Okay, so the particular year of time what we produced, that particular year GDP that will be added. For your better understanding, we take it as 2019 to 2020. Okay, so this is the 1 year of time. So normally our Indian GDP, how it calculated, not both the annually and quarterly. Okay, so both the annually means that is the starting of March 2019 to, sorry, April 2019 to March 2020. This noted as 2019 and 20. April 2019 to March 2020. Okay, so 2019, in the month of April, the particular thing produced in India, that will come under 2019 and 20's GDP. Can you understand? For quarterly, we have a 4 quarters of GDP calculating method. First quarterly we called as month of like April, May and June. Second quarter, July, August, September. Third quarter, October, November and December. And fourth quarter, January, February and March. So April to March. So this is by 4 quarters. Okay, so quarterly we calculated what is it, in the 4 times. Annually we calculated only 1 time. Okay, so both the things also available in India. Now the 2018 product will not added in the 2019's GDP. Can you understand? A bicycle produced in 2018. Okay, that will be added only in 2018's GDP. The same thing will not added in the 2019 and 20's GDP. The same like that, the first quarter the first quarter final product will not added in the second quarter's GDP. Only during the month of June or else March or August, like only the particular time, the month of this three, only this particular period only, that particular GDP will added. Okay, so first quarter product will not added in the second quarter time. Okay, so this is about the produced during a time period. Okay, definition. So already we saw the definition of GDP. Okay, so we saw the formula also. GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M, or X difference M. So C is a consumption, I is an investment, G is a government expenditure, and X is an import, M is a export. Okay, so now you see here one thing is left out, that is net factor income from abroad. Suppose we added the net factor from abroad, so this not a GDP, this become GNP. Okay, so this is about the thing how we calculated the GDP in India. So next we are going to see what are the methods will be there for calculating the GDP. Only three type of methods is available. In India mostly we use the expenditure method. Okay, so it's the common one. Most of the countries they followed the expenditure method, and one more thing, income method. Okay, so income method also some countries followed, but mostly India did not follow the income method. And third one is the value added approach. So value added approach, that type also some countries followed. In almost India also sometimes it's followed. Okay, so we'll see about the three things. See, in the expenditure method, what we saw in the GDP, the same thing is applicable here also. Now, the thing produced in the country or inside the boundary of our country, the final value added. So that we can see the final value means that is output. So finally, what is it? The value added, so that is called as expenditure. Okay, so normally the same thing will apply here, C plus I plus G plus X minus M, same thing applied here. So now the consumption, investment, government expenditure, import and export, and final value we added. So that's why it called as a expenditure method. So next you see income method. This is quite different. You see income method, the men or a woman, they produce the final goods. Now this is the output. Expenditure or as final goods, now that is the output. But we produced the final goods. Some people are working. That is a men or women. That's not a matter. But their salaries or else profit or else credit, everything will be calculated here. Okay, so their salaries and profit added in the income method. So that type of thing, mostly it's not a common in India, but some countries followed this income method also. And for value added approach. So in the beginning of the class we saw this. Okay, so we placed we ordered a cup of tea in a hotel. Finally they served you. So what is a tea now? It is a combination of more intermediate goods. Okay, so the final thing called as tea. Okay, but it's tea dust or else like sugar, milk, water, everything added. Okay, so the final goods is a tea, but it's a combination of more intermediate goods. So now each and every intermediate goods will come out of the factory as a completed goods. Can you understand? Sugar is a completed goods of sugar industry, isn't it? Now that sugar is a completed goods. Now if we added in the GDP, now again same thing added in the final value of a tea also. Okay, so some exceptions will be there, like a sugar or a he does like milk. These things are some exceptional thing. The value added finally. So the thing added, the sugar added in a tea or else the sugar added in the making of some sweets, that final goods only, the value added, that value only calculated in the GDP. So that we called as a value added approach. So like these three type of methods we follow to calculate the GDP. But in India, what is it? Expenditure method is the most common one. Okay. See the next, importance of GDP. So what is the importance of GDP? Why we calculated the GDP or something? The GDP is a measure of the economic level of the country defined in a good way. So using that, we can identify the country's wealth or a natural availability or something, how it's helped to the increasing of the economic level of the country. So we can identify normally, or sometimes because of some economic problem, what is it? Economic level of the country will be decreased. How to find these things now? Using the GDP, what is it? We can calculate and we can find the country is going in a right way or not. Okay, and then we can compare with the other countries. Now India's GDP, it's equal to the some other country, or India's GDP is better than the other country, or India's GDP is not good like other countries' GDP. Likewise, we can compare with the other country. Okay, so normally it's what is it? Based on the public sector thing. Okay, so based on that, every individuals we must know about the importance of GDP. Okay, so next class we'll move to the next topic.